Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well on this fantabulous, marvellous Monday. And this is video 2 of, I think, just 2. I think I'm going to leave it at 2. I'm still on holiday mode purely because we're counting down. I think it's like 31 days, something like that. 31 days. We go on the 12th of July. So at the moment, I'm kind of, I'm in holiday mode. And in this video, what are we talking about? We're talking about the many faces of Brent Kopacka, because that's the thing that's rolling out at the moment. Now, I saw a video the other day. I can't remember whether I was tagged in it or someone emailed it to me. Again, my brain's not 100% on form, but it was a video that was sort of comparing Brent Kopacka's face to Brent Kopacka's face, or the face that we've been led to believe is Brent Kopacka's, but they're trying to say that's perhaps not. And I did see that Drip Drop had commented on that video. So he had seen the same video. Seen it. And he had obviously paid attention. And he did a video. Can't remember whether that was yesterday or whether that was Saturday. But he did a video. Because it was intriguing. It was intriguing to watch. But I have a problem with something that Drip Drop said. Now, I like Drip Drop. I like him a lot. I don't think he has any nefarious intent. I would hope he has no nefarious intent. Certainly not. But I have a problem, and I'm gonna put a pin in that. And I'm going to come back to that in a second. Now, where did all this stem from? So we know Brent Kopacka is the guy who was ex-military, and he served some time. Purple Heart, fantastic guy, fought for his country, absolute hero. But he sustained a catastrophic brain injury, and then his life descended into some sort of chaos, to a point where he didn't really even seem to know what his name was, as demonstrated again in a Drip Drop video, Crime Circus, where he thought his name, and he spelt it, was Kopak, not Kopacka. Maybe just a mental typo, who knows. But what I'm going to say is, he was then eventually executed by cops. And that situation, there's certain elements of that are still hidden, still not really, there's just something not quite right with that. They're trying to say that he was holding his roommates hostage, and this was something that just had to be done to keep people safe. And I'm not 100% sure that's the case. But anyway, I'm not law enforcement. I can only speculate, or I can only have an opinion. And those opinions mean nothing. But then, obviously, the rumour mill started. Everyone started talking about it. Of course it did. Of course it did. Why wouldn't they? Why would they not talk about it when he lived a stone throw away from Brent Kopacka, who was the accused in the atrocity of the Idaho 4 case? Why would you not question when someone who lives a stone throw away from that person ends up being shot and killed by law enforcement? And one of the last things they seem to have said was about the death of roommates, or killing roommates, and roommates that he had were never seen and certainly weren't there at the time that he was shot. So that sort of raised a few alarm bells. But then, a few months down the track, his friend come out, Darren Duncan, not to be confused with Dunkin' Donuts, even though he looks like he's perhaps been there. And I mean that because he's not the nicest person in the world when it comes to content creators. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. He wants to throw mud, I'm going to throw mud back. But he did come out and stick up for his friend. And in a second, I'm going to stick up for him. So don't jump on attacking me just yet for my comments. Because he came out and stuck up for his friend. Someone who, this Darren Duncan said, "It is my mate. Is my mate." And even recently, he's been uploading on his Facebook a picture of him and who we're led to believe is Brent Kopacka, which again we'll get there. And talking about it, he's still putting posts as well, sort of telling people that he's sick to death of YouTube trying to reach out to him and talk to him. He's tired of being nice. He's tired of being nice. He's not. He's just going to tell you to go fuck yourself. But he did. He came out, and it was on mainstream media as well, that he'd come out and stuck up for his friend and thought it was disgusting. But the issue was the person who he had in a picture and the person who he had his arm round, they're now trying to say that that's not Brent Kopacka, because Brent Kopacka that we see in the military uniform doesn't look like the person who is in Darren Duncan's pictures, certainly. Just doesn't look like the same person. Now, I will say this. I've looked at the pictures, I've drawn lines and like arrows and stuff, which you can see here. The issue that I have is this. Two things that I have issues with. Looking at my own photographs over the years, I can see that there's changes in my face. Do you know what I mean? Even now, I'm starting to get back onto being healthy and not in the post-pandemic apocalypse on the body where you couldn't go to the gym, you couldn't do anything. All you could really do was watch TV, eat food, and sit in the garden. And not even do that with friends because you just had to be in a bubble. And that bubble could only contain certain people. And sadly, a lot of the time that was people you didn't even like. So yes, in the reparation after that of the body and soul, my face has changed again. You can now see my earlobes from the front. Look, you can see them. I can see them on the camera there. But a while back, couldn't see them. And I attribute the differences in Brent Kopacka's pictures to multiple things. And that is that you can see the pictures of Brent Kopacka in his military attire. He's quite young in that picture. He's quite young, he's quite trim, and then you've got his sort of post-army. And I live on a military base. You see people over time change. They put on weight, they put on timber, they don't look after themselves so much, or they come out of the military. We know that he sustained an injury, a traumatic brain injury, and he was going through difficulties. Half his fucking face is covered by a massive beard, and that weren't really looked after either. But personally, I do not think, and I offer no credence to these being completely different people. You can change the way someone looks very drastically just in terms of the camera you use, the lighting, the weight held in their face, their age. Every single thing can make subtle nuances to a picture that will change the way they look. But I will categorically say, and if someone proves me wrong beyond a reasonable doubt, I'll hold my hands up and say, no, you was right, I'm wrong, I apologise. That indeed is not Brent Kopacka. But this is what I had a problem with. And, I have to say it. To be real, to be true, to be honest, I have to say it. And that was a comment made by Drip Drop. And I'm sure, and what I won't say is that Drip Drop said this because he hadn't had it said to him. He may well have had this said to him or was led to believe that this is true. Now, he made a statement about Darren Duncan had done this before and been caught and called out on this before, where he had lied. Now, I don't know whether the insinuation was that he'd lied about knowing someone in sort of a high-level crime like this and pretended to be their friend and faked pictures, but that was what was seemingly being pushed, and I cannot find any evidence of that one whatsoever. Now, it might just be that I'm shit at investigating, and that might be the case. It might be the case that Darren Duncan has done loads of this before, there was evidence of it, but I can't find it. But because I can't find it, and I find nothing to offer that credence, I feel at this time that comment was unjust and was potentially stated to further fuel the potential that what he was saying about Brent Kopacka was indeed true. When I think it's much more likely that was indeed Brent Kopacka in that photograph, and what the differences are the aforementioned changes in age, weight, and the dynamics of how those pictures were taken. Camera, lighting, lens, angles, everything, every single thing. And that's my take on it. So is this Brent Kopacka? Is there a fake Brent Kopacka somewhere? Is Brent Kopacka being hidden? Now, what I will say is, for me, there is issues around the Brent Kopacka situation. 100% there's issues. I feel that the footage that we've seen, which Lana over at Truth and Transparency had, I felt that had been doctored. I found that some of the elements of that were not indicative of a situation that posed an immediate danger to the public and should have resulted in the execution of anybody, let alone an ex-serviceman who was going through the difficulties which he clearly was going through. But he was a guy who was failed. He was a guy who was failed, and the system is seemingly still failing him in the aftermath of what happened to him. But is there some fake going on? I don't think so. I do believe that Darren Duncan's friend and the person shown in them pictures is indeed Brent Kopacka. And comparing these pictures, I don't find any credence in saying that's a fake. And also, I find it at this time, and I reserve my right to change my mind if someone proves otherwise, I cannot find anything to say that Darren Duncan had a nefarious intention and was lying and knew that that was not Brent Kopacka. I just want to make that very clear. But anyway, enjoy the rest of your day. Have a wonderful, wonderful, marvellous Monday. Carry on looking amazing as you do, and I will catch you all live later. Be there.